And Fareed, I mean, first of all, the U.S. estimates this group makes up 9% of our rebels. In a country where we don't really know who's who and what group is what, at least that's what we're told, how the heck do we know it's about 9% of rebels?
Well, I think that claim is almost certainly wrong. I think the one thing we should have learned from Iraq, from what we know about Iran's nuclear weapon capacity, from Afghanistan, is that, you know, these are black boxes. We have very few people in Syria. The idea that we could estimate 9% of the rebels are any one group is ludicrous. I think we will be surprised in Syria as we've been surprised in Iraq, surprised in Afghanistan. What is significant is that we have figured out that there is a group that is fighting very well. These guys are real good fighters. That is very dangerous, and this will complicate the effort to help the Syrian rebels enormously.
How big of an influence then is al-Qaeda in the rebels? I mean, so we don't know exactly how many, but when you think about it and you hear about it, how significant is al-Qaeda?
I think it's very important to understand, again, we don't know whether this is al-Qaeda inspired, al-Qaeda connected, or al-Qaeda directed. Those are three different phenomena. My guess is this is al-Qaeda inspired. That is, this is a local jihadi group. Perhaps there's some Saudi money and Saudi volunteers, perhaps some Qatari money, but that these guys are really fanatical Islamists, but they're not getting their military orders from Ayman Zawahiri. What it does do, though, it makes it very difficult for the United States to give any kind of blanket support to the Syrian rebels, because we're always going to be worried, well, what if the weapons get to these guys? What if some measures we take empower these guys? We don't want these weapons to be used against an American aircraft, or a port or a subway 5 years from now.
Well, and this is another thing I'm curious about, because it seems that it's sort of reaching a critical mass in the United States, this move to arm and help the rebels in some way. Now, I could be wrong, but, you know, it just feels that we're hearing more and more about it. And I still don't understand, because, we go in and we intervene in Libya, and we weren't able to secure weapons there. Now those weapons are being used in Gaza, and, of course, now apparently being used in Syria. So if we intervene, does it do more good than harm?
I think it's a very complicated situation. If we don't know whom we are intervening on for, I do think that there's a potential for consequences we don't understand. You know, what's going on in Syria is, at one level, it's a very simple morality play, which is Assad and his regime are just awful. They're brutal dictators. They've been oppressing their people. But at another level, it's very complicated. There are a lot of people who are against the government who are also bad guys. There are lots of people who are supporting the government. A lot of the Kurds and Christians and Assyrians in Syria are supporting the government, not because they like the government.
Assad fighting an al-Qaeda-linked group, so maybe we should be helping Assad, right? Exactly. I mean, according to logic.
So all of which just tells you we need to learn more about what's going on. We need to support the good guys. I think we should do that, and we can do that. But let's make sure they really are good guys.
Right, and that brings me to the issue of chemical weapons. There's been all this talk that Syria has a lot of them, right, helped by Russia in prior years, and that Assad may now use them. That's coming out of the U.S. government. Do you believe any of that? Do we really know, I guess when you think back to Iraq, do we really know what weapons, chemical weapons, Syria has, and whether Assad would use them, or perhaps that they could come in the hands of one of these al-Qaeda-linked groups or other rebels that could use them?
My guess is they do have some. Historically, this has always been the view. Who knows how many and how effective they are. The most important thing to remember about chemical weapons is they're not actually that effective. So part of the reason regimes like Assad and Saddam Hussein stockpiled them was it scared people. It made them think we can poison whole villages. The truth is the gas disperses very fast. It's not very effective. So I would guess, my gut is, the Syrian regime will not use it. And I think that President Obama's very stern warning to them probably helped in that regard. So I think that while we should be cautious, it's not clear to me that they're going to use it.
And a final question.